All right, let's move on to client events. So this will give us an easy way for Pusher clients to interact with each other. And a really good basic example of that would be if you've ever been in a chat and while the other person is typing, you get a little notification. That's a good example of this. Think of it as a client-to-client event or notification. Okay, so here is our task list that we've been tinkering around with in the last episode or two. And we have two tabs up here. One for myself, and then one, in this example, for my wife. So both of us have access to this project. But now, if we are both signed in at the same time, I would like my wife to see a notification when I'm typing. So as I would type here, on the other end, she would get a little notification that says Jeffrey Way is currently typing, something like that. All right, let's see what we can do here. Here's that little chat box, right? So why don't we say, when the user keys down, so when they start typing into this input, we will, what do we want to say here? Notify peers, or how about tap participants? Any kind of fun name that you want to use there. Some people will just stick with on key down. You can do that as well if you prefer. All right, let's go ahead and add that here. Tap participants. And now let's grab our channel, or we can cache that at some point. We could use a computed property, anything you want. But anyways, grab our private channel, and now we're going to use this nice terminology here, whisper. We will whisper some kind of message, some kind of event to all the other clients that are registered. So what are we whispering? Well, we're whispering that we are currently typing, and then any data you need to pass through can be done so here. So right now I'm going to hard code it, but later we will use the signed in person's name. Now, what you could do, like some people might want to do this where you actually pass through what they are typing. So this would be whatever the user has currently typed will be sent through, but you definitely don't want to do that, right? If somebody else is typing, you shouldn't be able to see their draft, what they're experimenting with sending through. So we definitely don't want to do that. All right, so we'll refactor, and hopefully that makes sense. So when you key down, we will get our channel, and then whisper to the other clients that we are currently typing. And the person typing right now is just hard-coded foobar. So here's what I want to do next. Switch over to Pusher, go into our app, into the debug console, and let's try this out. Switch over to Chrome, and I will type a couple letters here, and if I switch back to the console, we get all of these client errors. So this is a common gotcha when people are reading the Laravel docs and they learn about whispering, is they try it out and nothing works. Here, we can see, to send client events, you must enable it within the settings section of Pusher. So we'll go here, enable client events, and now we can give it another shot. Back to Chrome, refresh, type a couple letters, and if I switch back, now you can see we're receiving those client events. And we can dig down, and once again, we've just hard-coded that name. At this point, whenever I start entering a new project task, we send an event to Pusher. Now we need to do the next step, which is listen for a whisper. So we can do that right up here. We could say .listen for whisper. The name is typing, and then what do we want to do in response? We'll say alert, somebody is typing. All right, and a quick refactor there. So now let's go back to Chrome. Once again, I'll give both of these a hard refresh. And now if I type a key here, you'll see right up here, Chrome is letting us know that we have an alert. And there it is. Okay, let's do it again here. I will type a little bit, switch over, and now we're notified. Okay, so the next step is, let's do this. How about, so now, maybe here, this is where ultimately we'd have something like John Doe is typing, right? So yes, something like this is ultimately what we want, but of course it should be dynamic. So what we'll say here is maybe, do we have an active participant? Or how about active peer? How about that? If we have an active peer, then we'll say active peer dot name is typing. We'll try something like that. All right, so it sounds like by default, there are no active peers. However, if a random user, anyone in this project, starts typing, we will make an announcement. And then up here, we will listen for that announcement. However, this time we won't do an alert. We'll say this.activePeer equals the event. And in this case, that would just be an object that contains the name. Of course, if you need to, you can overwrite that or limit it however you need to. So we're all on the same page. If we now pick up that somebody else is typing, active peer will now be set to an object. And if that happens to be the case, we will notify you that that person is currently typing. All right, so let's go back to Chrome, give a hard refresh here, and let's give it a shot. I start typing, and instantly we see foobar is typing. If we do it on this end, we get the exact same thing. But now, of course, we do need to make this disappear at some point. So maybe we could say, well, yes, update active peer, but how about after 3 seconds or so, whatever interval you want, we will reset that. So we'll say let's do it like this. This.activePeer is back to false, and we'll do that after about 3 seconds. Okay, so give that a refresh one more time. I will start typing, 1, 2, 3, and it disappears. However, we want it to be a little more relevant. So if I do something like this, what's going to happen after 3 seconds if I keep typing? Yeah, can you see that there? Hopefully that's coming through in the screencast. It keeps flashing because all of those timers keep getting set. We're building up memory. They keep resetting. Not what we want. So it sounds like we need to clear it. So we could say here timer or be a little more specific, like typing timer. Set that to false. Assign it here. And we're mostly doing this so that we can clear it if we need to. So we could say something like, well, if there already is a typing timer in effect, then let's make sure we clear that because we're going to start over and basically reset the clock. So if that's the case, clear the timeout, this.typing timer, and format. Does that make sense? If a person is typing, all right, well, let's update the active peer. Next, if we already have a timer, then go ahead and clear that out, and then we'll create a brand new one. This way, if I come back to Chrome, give both of these a refresh again. Yeah, notice as I start typing, keep an eye on that foobar is typing in the bottom right here, and you're not going to see it reset at all, because every single time it clears, and then it starts a new 3 seconds. So now 2, 3, and it disappears. And now here, the other person is receiving an update. Okay, you get the idea. So now let's just do a quick thing here to show the user. And this will just depend upon how you've built your app. I'm going to do something up here. Sometimes I'll do this. We'll say window.app. So we'll have a global app object where we will echo out some data here. So we'll say the user is auth user. So just grab the standard user object with Laravel, and then we will encode that and pass it to our JavaScript. So now we'll give that a refresh and look at the source, and you can see we have that object. But anyways, now that we have access to that, rather than hard coding foobar, I could instead say the name is the current user's name. All right, let's come back to Chrome. Give this all a refresh. And once again, actually real quick, let's clear all of this out. Okay, anyways, now as I start typing, they are notified, oh, Jeffrey's working on this. 1, 2, 3, it clears, and then I will pass that through. In this case, my wife would start typing, and I would receive her notification. There it is, and it clears. Now you'll notice in that case there was a little bit of overlap where they finished their message, they sent it, it showed up for us, but there was still maybe a second or so before that typing notification cleared. So maybe you say right up here, when a task is created, we add the task, and then maybe there you would ensure that you manually reset it. This.activePeer is false. All right, so let's give that one a shot. She starts typing, it sends through, and instantly, even if the timer hasn't reset, we will empty out that active object and hide the message. And the same thing here. Send it through, and now it's gone. So yeah, just not too difficult when you get right down to it. All right, 2 final things. Let's do our 30-second recap, and then we'll finish up by cleaning some things up, like maybe extracting a method, maybe renaming, I'm not sure. Okay, our recap. We're in a project, we want to notify others when we are currently typing. So immediately we can say, well, we have to detect if you are typing. So on key down, we will tap the other participants. If we take a look at that, we do that by getting our channel and then whispering to the other clients that we're typing, and specifically whoever the currently signed in user is the person creating the new task. Next, if we scroll up, we check on that. All right, well, if active peer is no longer false and it's equal to that object, we will echo out that this person is currently typing. And that's all there is to it. All right, so let's do some refactoring and we will call it a day. Now here I can see I'm using one term of participants and another term of peer. Not a big deal, but maybe instead we should say tag peers. If we're going to use the name or the term peer, then let's keep it consistent. Next, right here, this is some low-hanging fruit. Let's just extract that entirely. So we're going to do something here. We don't know what the name is yet. And often what I will do is just call it X until I have a chance very shortly after. It's not like I keep it there, but very shortly after to figure out what the method does. And then I will go back and rename it. So let's see. If we detect that somebody else in our project, some peer is typing, what do we do? Well, let's just break it down. We're clearing a timeout. That's a side effect. What we're really doing right now is flashing the active peer. So maybe we can call this flash active peer or flash peer indicator. I don't know. This is fine though. I think that'll work. And let's make sure we accept the event there, the client event. Next here, this is just a tiny refactor, but I bet we can get away with just not doing that at all. So let's see what that would look like. Yeah, and we'll do a reformat there. Doesn't look too bad. Next, I can see in a couple places, we're doing this long string here to calculate the channel and then to load it. So we have it there, there. Is there a third place? No. So not a biggie, but you know what? Let's still move that to a computed property. I think it'll read better after that. So I will call it channel. And yeah, we're basically just going to return this. Now I could say, well, when our view component is created, get the channel and listen for when a new task is created, and then listen for if somebody is typing. Okay, next, right down here, exact same thing. This .channel.whisper. And then this is fine. Would it look okay on its own line? If it's not too bad there, I would prefer it on its own line. If it gets a little longer, you know, it's much cleaner to read it if you separate it. But in this case, not too bad there. It's easier to take in. Let's see, for saving, this looks fairly clean. Make a post request, then add the task. Finally, when we add a task, once again, that all looks fairly clean in my mind. So this is what we ended up with. Not too bad. Let's do our final confirmation to make sure everything's still working. I'm sure it is. We're running, Jeffrey's typing. We'll send it through, it immediately disappears. It'll work in reverse, or if we stop for a moment, it goes on. Everything works great there. So I'll make this source available to you, and then in the next episode, we'll continue forward.